Hello, hello, good evening, friends and neighbors. This is Faisal Hassan, your member provincial parliament, and tonight I'm joined my colleague Kevin Yard from Brampton North, the official opposition's critic for auto insurance. Tonight we are talking about auto insurance postal code discrimination. And before I begin, I would like to acknowledge this land, the transitional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuits, and Métis peoples. And I want to welcome those who are joining us, Facebook, Faisal Hassan, NDP, and also those who are joining us as well on Twitter and also YouTube. Welcome. And thank you. Thank you for joining us this evening. I want to welcome my special guest tonight, Member Provincial Parliament for Brampton North and the official opposition critic for auto insurance, Kevin Yard, and thank him for joining us for this important discussion tonight. For far too long, communities like York Southwestern and Brampton North have struggled with unfair insurance practices, resulting in unfair auto insurance rates for hard-working people. Even clean driving record fails to prevent unreasonable rates, sometimes 2 to 3 times more expensive than other communities, simply due to where we live, our postal code, and previous liberal and conservative governments have repeatedly failed to hold insurance companies accountable for this injustice when there are steps we can take today. I look forward to discussing our plan and answering your questions with my friend and colleague Kevin Yard as we work to end the injustice of unfair insurance rates and postal code discrimination. Now I will hand it over to my colleague, Member Provincial Parliament, Kevin Yard, for an introduction. Welcome, Kevin Yard.
Well, thank you very much, Faisal. And as you mentioned, I'm Kevin Yard, the Member of Provincial Parliament for Brampton North. And this is a very important topic. It's one which hits hard, of course, here in Brampton North, and also in your riding as well, Faisal, and right across all of Ontario. But there are sectors within Ontario where we are seeing some of the highest insurance rates based on postal code discrimination. As a matter of fact, in my riding in Brampton North, we pay over $3,000 a year in auto insurance when the average is around $1,400. So yes, more than double the provincial average is what we're seeing in Brampton North. So this discussion tonight will talk about why we've been seeing such high insurance rates, what we can do to lower the auto insurance rates, and look at COVID as well. And the fact that we are in a pandemic right now, and the fact that our insurance rates continue to rise, which is something we thought would be the complete opposite. But unfortunately, we are seeing auto insurance rates rising. So we'll take your questions tonight, and we'll try to answer them as best that we can. There's so many other areas we can tackle. This could probably be, Faisal, a 3-4 hour segment, but we'll be here for an hour this evening. Of course, been hearing a lot of people in my riding who are limousine and taxi drivers and their concerns with insurance as well. So we'll try and answer some of those questions as well. There is some light at the end of the tunnel. We'll talk about that for limousine and taxi drivers. We've been seeing in other jurisdictions, other provinces. So hopefully that can be brought here to Ontario. But as you said in your opening statement, Faisal, other governments in the past have promised and have failed to lower the auto insurance, and it's something which is long overdue, and it should happen. It should happen now, and there's really no excuse for it, especially since we're in a pandemic, and there's fewer cars on the roads, as we know, and there's fewer accidents, there's fewer claims, so insurance companies are aware of that. And I would have thought in March of last year, I would have seen insurance rates coming down and insurance companies giving people a break. There have been, I guess you could say, so-called discounts, but those discounts unfortunately have not amounted to much. And we've been seeing that right across the board. Doesn't matter which insurance company, we've been seeing very little, but there is one insurance company which we'll get into that, which has sort of led the way in terms of providing discounts for insurers out there. So I'm going to throw it back to you, Faisal, and we'll start to go through segment by segment. As I mentioned before, we could be here for a long time, but we'll try to answer as many questions in the short period of time that we have.
Well, thank you, Kevin, for joining us. And Kevin Folks is my colleague, a member of also, for the very first time, the Black Caucus ever created in the province of Ontario.
I forgot to mention that, Faisal. Yes.
And that was also the first time in any political party to actually form to form a caucus. I know many of you have written earlier about questions as well, and also those who are joining us. We also want to incorporate your questions and your comments so that we also have answer, at least to try to attempt to also have that conversation tonight. First, we have some questions already being sent to us, Kevin. So I will start first. Leanne Timberman, who wrote to us, I never knew that I would save money from moving from Barrie to Midland, but I kept the insurance money in the fold and moved it to my tenant insurance. As you see, my insurance didn't change. I made changes. Although I'm on ODSP, why should I endure more expenses when it is the insurance companies that made millions of dollars during the pandemic? They should be the ones lowering the cost, not increasing people like myself on disability. And now, what about our seniors? When a person goes from CPP, disability, to CPP, they lose like $300 monthly. How are we supposed to live under the poverty line again? So this is the first question coming from Leanne Tiberman. Well, thank you for your question. Kevin?
Well, that's one thing we've been talking about during the pandemic. Not just during the pandemic, but before the pandemic. People who are marginalized within our society on fixed incomes, we should be giving them a break as well, particularly now during the pandemic. So what we should be looking at is giving a break, so to speak, in terms of the premiums for people who are either collecting CERB, who are on ODSP, and this is something which I believe the government can do. They haven't done yet, and it's something which I think would go a long way to assisting people in terms of helping them pay for their food, pay for their housing, pay for their rent, pay for their mortgage, because not everyone is making their full income that they were before the pandemic. And of course, with people who are in marginalized situations, we need to give them a break, and that's something which insurance companies should be doing. And unfortunately, Faisal, we're not seeing that, and it hasn't happened yet.
Absolutely, and I'll say that also, even though we are in the middle of a pandemic where people are struggling, and this would have been the opportunity, these insurance companies, to take advantage and support people. And I agree also, the last 15 years was also so much neglect, and now this government has not been tackling the issues of affordabilities. Well, thank you, Leanne Timberman, for signing early on your question. That is why you were the first person to write to us to this question, and hopefully that satisfies you, the answer. But still, you can write to Kevin. Kevin's email is kyard-co@ndp.on.ca, And my also email is fhassan-co@ndp.on.ca. There also you can also write to us more issues of auto insurance. Well, we'll come to Kevin, our next question, and that comes from Jordan Andrews and says, what are the barriers in the province to making auto insurance affordable in Ontario? Can auto insurance companies be made to be more transparent with how they set the premiums?
Well, we would hope it would be incumbent upon insurance companies to do the right thing in terms of lowering auto insurance premiums. But unfortunately, the government has given auto insurance companies the right to determine their own rates. And this is something which has led to higher insurance rates. FSRA has said that since the pandemic, this is the operating portion for auto insurance, that auto insurance companies can give discounts. And we have seen some discounts in the way of maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% discounts on auto insurance premiums. That's what we've seen for the vast majority, Faisal, in terms of discounts for insurers. We have seen CAA has given probably the largest amount of discounts that we've seen in Ontario so far. First, they started off with a 10% discount, and then they eventually came down to a 15% discount. And also, they've also given a rebate of a couple $100, $150. So that's one thing that we've seen within the insurance industry. There have been leaders such as CAA, they've been giving discounts for insurers, but the vast majority, unfortunately, have not been providing adequate enough discounts. I've been getting calls to my constituency office and emails, people saying, well, my insurance company promised me to give me a discount, and it amounted to about $20, which is really sort of a slap in the face for a lot of people, because as I mentioned at the top, Faisal, people are leaving their vehicles at home, not driving it as much. There's fewer accidents on the roads, and that means there's fewer claims. That means that the insurance companies, the premiums they're getting, they don't have to make any payouts because there's fewer accidents, so they are reaping the rewards. So they're actually taking in billions of dollars in premiums. So with that in mind, that should be an incentive for insurance companies to say, hey, listen, we've been making all this money in premiums. Let's give the people of Ontario a break by giving them some fair and decent discounts on their auto insurance. And we have not seen that for the most part with insurance companies. So I hear the question, and that is one thing I'm going to continue to push at Queen's Park to make sure that we can get decent auto insurance rates. I know some people, one person mentioned that they go from one jurisdiction to another jurisdiction. And that's what we'll be talking about, Faisal. I've been talking about postal code discrimination. It shouldn't be like that. It should be based on your driving record, how many tickets you have, how many accidents you have, how long you've been driving. Are you a good driver? Are you a bad driver? I agree. I think Faisal agrees as well that bad drivers should be penalized, should be paying higher premiums. Those who are speeding, who are aggressive drivers, who are getting into accidents, who are flaunting things like drinking and driving or what have you, they should be paying higher premiums, not the rest of us who are doing the right things. And here in Brampton North, I have a lot of people who are excellent drivers, no accidents, no tickets, clean driving record, yet they're paying ridiculous amounts of insurance because the insurance companies are rating us based on where we live, which is wrong, and that should be changed.
Absolutely, and I think Jordan Andrew, that's a very good question, and I thank Kevin for answering. And I think the problem we have is that we have been targeted simply because of where we live, and it is unfair that good, decent, hard-working members of our community cross metropolitans, bigger urban areas, being targeted, and some neighborhoods not so, because they are affluent neighborhoods, and those working communities, racialized communities, are being asked to pay more their auto insurance, as Kevin Yard mentioned, it's not because of the car you drive or your driving record, but simply because of where you live. That is not right. This is wrong, and we need to change it. And I think definitely it's also, you're right, transparency, accountability, and holding these companies accountable is also very important. And we have seen the last 15 years the neglect of the previous government and this current government, as we also will talk about what we have done since we have been elected. But we will also try also to reach, make sure that also folks who are joining us on Facebook, also we will also get to your comments and your questions, but also we'll also finish folks who have actually take the time to register their questions ahead of time. So hopefully, Jordan Andrews, if that's not satisfactory, definitely we can join together to fight for justice for drivers and for members of our community and cross metropolitan large cities that are being targeted simply because of where we live. And I have called it is a community discrimination, and it must end. Also, now we will continue, Kevin, to take also, we have a couple of questions before we turn to others who are also really engaging at the moment on Facebook and also asking questions. The next question comes from Nasser Nadar. And I apologize if I mispronounced your name, and says, because I drive a brand new car in the city of York doesn't make me a high risk driver. I shop around for car insurance. Most of the company will take between $228 to $250, but not $331 per month for commercial insurance. That is outrageous. And he continues also a second question where it says we should pay less for car insurance and get back more services. That is the question from Nasser Nidar. Thank you for your question, Kevin.
Yes, Nasser, thank you for your question. And the first part, you talked about driving a high-end vehicle. It's similar to postal code discrimination as well. They should be looking at your driving record, how many tickets you have, how many accidents you have, not the fact that you're driving a high-end vehicle. And this is something which, we are going to continue to push. I keep sounding like a broken record. We're going to continue to push at Queen's Park to make sure that you get a fair and decent rate, because, this is, I guess you could say, price gouging by insurance companies when they do things like that. We understand we're not living in a bubble, that a vehicle which is valued at, say, $500 as opposed to a vehicle which is valued at $50,000, there is a difference there. You're probably going to pay a different amount in terms of premium. But we have to look at making sure that when you are rated and when you do get your assessment on your vehicle, that it is not so exorbitant that you can't even afford to drive that vehicle. And we've been seeing that a lot in my riding in Brampton North and Faisal's riding as well. So it's something which shouldn't happen, and something we're going to fight against. And so definitely thank you, Nasser, for that question. Sorry, Faisal, what was the second part of that question?
Well, the second part is we should pay less for car insurance and get back more services.
Well, the quick answer is yes.
Yes, absolutely.
And definitely should.
Very good. And I think it is across the board, Kevin, that the communities, not only Brampton North, but also York Southwestern, but even in Scarborough and many parts across of major metropolitans, people are struggling. They're struggling because, as you know, jobs have left. Because jobs have left in their communities, far away communities. So people, in order to drive, it's a necessity for them. And because there is no jobs in their communities, so they go far to look for jobs. So that's why people are needing to drive. And also, the transit has not been planned well. As you also, recently we also sponsored a clean train a bill, which also the trains that are also going through our neighborhoods are also not environmentally sound. They're diesel. And that's also another thing. I think we need to Last time when I met the insurance companies in 2000, I think 2019, they came. They actually acknowledged, Kevin, to me that this is not working for the community. It's not working. So we
Yeah, but
need to.
yeah. Sorry for interrupting, Faisal, but yeah, transportation is key. Majority of communities, like my community, is considered a bedroom community where people are commuting to work, driving down the 410. They have to use their vehicle because, in terms of other ways of getting to, say, Toronto or other places in the GTA, a vehicle is a necessity, and so that's why we need to make sure that. Having people driving vehicles that they're getting a fair deal on their auto insurance. We have to have better infrastructure. We need better transportation systems in terms of trains and buses because people are still in their vehicles. I mean, I could talk about the 407. We should have never sold that 407 because we
Yep.
would definitely more cars on the road, but that's for another discussion, of course. But the government has left it for a situation where you need that vehicle. And especially in areas in Peel region where your job may be in Toronto, or if you're a student where we don't have a university in Brampton, a full-fledged university, so they're going to have to commute to other places throughout the GTA. So the transportation system needs to be fixed. I agree with you, Faisal. And hopefully the government will do a good job on that. I know there's a few areas which they're working on right now. And hopefully in the long run, that will benefit. But right now, we have to look at what's happening right now in terms of auto insurance rates. And they are just going through the roof. And people don't have that income that they used to have. And if they do have that income, the cost of food is going up. The cost of maintaining their homes are going up. So everything has gone up, including your auto insurance. The government had promised to lower auto insurance in 2019, and I had my fingers crossed, but that didn't happen. 15 years with the Liberals, they promised to lower auto insurance by 15%. That didn't happen. So it's almost like successive governments don't have the will yeah, I guess that's the word, don't have the will to lower auto insurance. And we have to ask why. And because we are just facing year after year, promises after promises to lower auto insurance. It is just not happening. And it's something which I think is going to be a huge election issue. If not in federal, and then in the provincial, it will be a huge election issue because it's something which affects every family and everybody.
Well, absolutely. And I think people should know, those who are watching us, you're watching us, Faisal Hassan NDP, and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. And of course, people should also know that the previous governments had 15 years to fix this. They haven't. And now this government had almost 3.5 years to fix them, postal code discrimination. And it shouldn't be based on auto insurance shouldn't be based on where we live, the community in which we come from. It should be based on our driving record, because that is we are doing the right thing, should be rewarded, and also the kind of car you drive. Kevin, we have also another question here. Joel Campbell have wrote to us and asked us, is it justified for a motor vehicle accident victim to be using their private benefits when involved in a motor vehicle accident?
Well, there's some people, some people don't have private, there's a lot of people who don't have private benefits. So, it's something which should not happen. Yep. It shouldn't occur. We have what's called obviously no fault insurance, and it's worked well in many occasions. So I think the way that's going to set up and be, I think that's going to continue to be the way it should be, is the no fault insurance, because not everybody has private insurance or private benefits to assist them. So this is something which I think we need to look hard at, and hopefully it doesn't change. So I think the way it's set up right now, Faisal, is a good way, because nobody is going to lose out. So I think we should keep it the way it is in terms of the no fault.
Yes, and I think also, Kevin, in my opinion, these auto insurance is like a money-making machine for these insurance companies. And I think what we're asking as the representatives of these communities that have been really targeted, that they understand the pain people are going through, and they cannot continue simply being asked to pay higher premiums. And I know that also, people in the middle of the pandemic, people are not driving. And I know it's also we have to also reward companies that have a good business practices. You mentioned Kevin, CAA, but why are the others are not offering 50% or 10%, whatever, discounts for their
Mhm.
members? Oh,
Well, that's a very good question. And the reason why that's happening, because if you look at the insurance companies, the other insurance companies, the way it is set up, they are beholden to their shareholders. So whenever that's the situation, then you have to make a profit. So regardless of the situation of individuals in Ontario having to pay higher insurance, their end goal is to make a profit. And that is why we've been seeing insurance companies continue to raise their insurance premiums, because they have to answer to their stakeholders, because they want in the end to see a profit. That's what they're in the business for. So that's unfortunate. That has to change. That whole model has to change, or that whole way of thinking has to change. CAA, they are not in the situation where they're beholden to shareholders. So that's why they are thinking about the public first, as opposed to the pocketbooks first. So that's why we've been seeing those discounts of 10 to 15% in terms of premiums with CAA. So if the insurance companies can find a way to get around thinking of their shareholders first and the insured second, then we will see a lowering of the insurance rates. But I think they can still do it and still make a profit. They can
oh
still
yeah,
the insurance rates and still make a profit.
yep.
But the will is not there, and it has not been there. And so what we need to do is to sit down with the insurance companies and say, well, listen, especially now during a pandemic where fewer vehicles are being driven, there is a way for you to give back to society, give back to the insurers. Providing a 1-2% discount is not going to cut it. Is not going to really make a difference in terms of people's lives and in terms of their driving and their driving habits. So that's one thing. I guess you could say that that's the main reason why we haven't seen reduction in insurance premiums, because they are beholden to their shareholders.
And looking at their bottom line. But I think what we're asking as the representatives for communities and constituents, decent and hardworking people that have been targeted simply because of where they live, and this is not fair. And it is time to change. And it's time to make sure that they get a strong message, a clear message. And I know that also not only insurance in general, it's a mess, Kevin. I know that business insurances is also not fair, and we have so many issues with business insurances. I know it's not an auto insurance question, but I think a constituent of mine also wrote for a question about. I'm going to do a short question, and very important auto insurance and also a business insurance. They are sky high, rocketing, and it need government should intervene and control. And I'm going to give an example. My husband have a small business of roofing company for 2 years. We pay 13,000 per year. With COVID-19, they want 34,000, Kevin, for the same coverage. So crazy, and no control at all from the government side, and they become, outrageous. So if somebody is paying a business insurance of 13,000 per year, and now they are asking in the middle of a pandemic where businesses are struggling, they don't get a lot of work, roofers, because there's no much work is going on, and they're asking 34,000. And
Yes, yeah.
this is ridiculous. And also, another business we had in our community here in Mount Dennis, the same thing has been asked, simply doubling or tripling their business insurance. So what are we going to do about this? I know that we've already done something about the auto insurance. We've fought. I know that you also put a motion. Our colleagues also have done that. Would you like to talk about that? Since 2018, what we have been fighting on behalf of folks across the province.
Well, we've been putting forward motions. We put forward bills. Tom Rakosevich, Garatan Singh in Brampton East. Even before that, Jagmeet Singh, his brother,
Yep.
brought forth motions as well. But each time we brought forth these motions to assist the great people of Ontario to lower the auto insurance and to get rid of postal code discrimination, the other parties have shot it down and said no. And then they would bring forward a bill or a motion which would not help the people of Ontario. So it's a revolving system which keeps going around and around and around. It's been going like this for many years. People are fed up. People are tired. I'm getting these calls. You see the calls you're getting here on your Facebook timeline there. People are fed up, and the government can take action. The government can take action. Or they can do nothing. They have two choices: take action or do nothing. And obviously, we've seen they've done nothing. A quick answer to your constituent regarding business insurance: that is ridiculous. Paying 2-3 times more business insurance compared to what they were paying last year, and this is driving a lot of people out of the industries, out of the roofing industry, out of many industries, even in the restaurant business. We saw a lot of the insurers say, well, we can't cover you, or we're going to raise your insurance rates. So a lot of restaurants have been gouged as well. We saw this during the pandemic. And unfortunately, we haven't seen the political willpower to walk in, to step in and say, hey, we're going to help these restaurant businesses. We're going to help these roofing businesses and give them a fair share in terms of what they should be paying. Instead, it's been fair game to let insurance companies charge whatever they want to charge, and with no regard for the fact that a lot of these businesses basically would have to close because they can't afford these ridiculously sky-high insurance rates. So, like I said, there has to be a political will to step forward. I mean, we're not trying to run insurance companies out of business.
No.
We're just saying, give us a fair share in auto insurance, give us a fair share in our commercial insurance, and that's all we're asking. Because at the end of the day, if we look at the profits and the profit margins that they are making, they can make those sacrifices in terms of making sure that the citizens of Ontario are not being gouged and are not put in a situation where they have to leave their vehicles on the driveway, or they have to close down their businesses.
Very good. I think that's a very good point. And I think we have done a couple of bills, as you mentioned, since 2018, ending auto insurance discrimination in Greater Toronto. We've done also the Lower Automobile Insurance Rates Act. We also done your motion also, Kevin, and mine also, which also ending auto insurance discrimination and also giving relief of those during the pandemic as well. And that hasn't happened. And this government, what do? Each time they vote against us, instead of supporting the people of Ontario when it comes to auto insurance. And they have just voted all these bills and motions down. And that's a shame, Kevin.
Well, it certainly is. I mean, it's so easy for successive governments to win points, to get brownie points by doing the right thing. But when you don't do the right thing and you let people suffer, I mean, I can walk into Caledon and pay hundreds of dollars less from Brampton North, or I could walk into Mississauga, or I could walk into to Vaughan. So it's ridiculous in terms of the postal code discrimination that we've been seeing in your riding as well as in my riding and in other areas across Ontario. This has to stop because at what point will it be for the government to step in? Because right now in Brampton North, we're paying over $3,000 a year in auto insurance. And we haven't even started to talk about what's been happening with taxi drivers and limousine drivers,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous, because right now, taxi drivers, limousine drivers, they have to be put into what's called the facility market, or a high risk market, in terms of getting auto insurance. And we're working or trying to work with the government. I've sent letters to the government to say, well, hey, we really need to do something about what's happening with limousine drivers and taxi drivers, because a lot of them have to park their vehicles because they can't afford to operate their businesses anymore, which is sad. We shouldn't have to see this. They're being put in the higher risk market when they're good drivers. High risk is mainly for someone who's a high risk, who's a bad driver, who has accidents, who has tickets. And this is the market which taxi drivers and limousine drivers are being put in. And there's possibly, I know at the top of the show here, I said there might be some light at the end of the tunnel. What's been happening in Quebec is they've been tackling this problem, and we've been seeing some of the insurance rates coming down for taxi drivers and limousine drivers. So that type of formula, which is happening in Quebec, which is being operated by CAA, as a matter of fact, hopefully we can see that come to Ontario. So I'm hoping that we can get some relief in Ontario for taxi and limousine drivers. I know in my riding in Brampton North, at Pearson Airport, about 60% of the drivers are coming from the Brampton area. So we know that we're being affected by these ridiculously high rates of facility market on taxi drivers and limousine drivers. And hopefully that we'll see some changes coming shortly for taxi and limousine drivers, hopefully.
Well, thank you, Kevin. People are joining us, and those who are joining us, you're watching Faisal Hassan, you're a member of Provincial Parliament for York Southwestern, and my colleague Kevin Yard, a member of Provincial Parliament for Brampton North, and the official opposition critic for auto insurance. Tonight, we are talking about auto insurance, a virtual town hall meeting on auto insurance and postal code discrimination. And I know that many of you on Facebook who are joining us have been commenting and asking questions. First, I'll take the comments quickly, and then after that, then we'll also take your questions as well. First, Tracy Lynn says, yes, the issue is that government, FSRA, is not regulating their mandated medical billing system, which is allowing abuse and fraud in the millions, which increases the cost of claims, which in turn increases everyone's premiums. They could fix this in 6 months, but instead the story is being buried. So that's a comment from Tracy Lynn. And then also
So it says Tracy's her name?
Tracy Lynn, yeah.
Okay, Tracy, yeah, incredible question. FSRA obviously is the agency which regulates and maintains what insurance companies are supposed to charge. Where they even were the ones who said, okay, you can go ahead and give a discount. That was the first time they said that. But when they said that, they didn't mandate it. They didn't say a percentage. They just said, go ahead, do it. We're going to give you free rein and to lower auto insurance rates and do whatever you want to do. So that was a problem right there in the beginning. So that's why we saw very little discounts coming from insurance companies. Some insurance companies wanted to charge less based on your driving habits, and that's sort of ridiculous. How fast you would go. They would have monitors in your vehicle, which would tell if you're putting your foot on the gas too much, if you're braking too hard. That obviously is not working. And other insurance companies, as I mentioned earlier, were giving minuscule discounts to the insured. So the fact that the government hasn't stepped in and said, well, okay, in mandate is saying, okay, we need to give a 15, 20%, or in some cases 50% discount on auto insurance during this pandemic, that would have been perfect. That would have been perfect. And the insurance companies still would have made a profit. Their shareholders still would have received their dividends and received a decent payout. But the government has left it up to the insurance companies to do what they want to do. And what would have made more sense is to say, hey, listen, okay, we're in a pandemic, fewer cars on the roads, fewer accidents, fewer claims. We can give, during the lifetime of this pandemic, a 50% cut in auto insurance. And they still would have made a profit. They still would have made a profit. And it would have alleviated some pressure on the pocketbooks of Ontarians. And this is something which I feel would have been fair. And this is something which the government obviously did not choose to do, and will continue to, as I say, sound like a broken record, continue to push to make sure that we get fair and decent auto insurance premiums for people of Ontario. But leaving it up to insurance companies to do what they want to do. The fact that FSRA said, okay, fine, you're allowed to give discounts, but not mandating it, not setting a percentage is left insurance rates continuing to rise instead of falling. And that's what we're seeing here in Ontario.
Right. I see that Tracy has a lot of comments tonight. She's engaged. I'll take one of the other comments. Says Tracy Lynn says, not targeted. This claim system is being abused and the checks are being sent to the areas where the premiums are high. It is the cost of claims, not the postal code. And she continues to say, fixing this flaw will help the whole economy. Well, I think I disagree with that. We have seen that the data, we have seen that communities that are being targeted on postal code discriminations are good drivers. They are decent, hardworking people, and there's no evidence that really they are really causing problems, more accidents or more theft. That has been being proven wrong. So I think what people are asking, Tracy, is fairness here. And that fairness has to happen. And postal code should not be on the basis of anybody's auto insurance rates. It should be abolished and it should be completely ended. And that is, I think, the right thing to do. And it is fairness. And I think I'll also give opportunities the others as well. Tracy, quickly. Here we have Ren Ada, who also said the 28% savings between Mississauga and Brampton. Think about that. And you will also save more other places if you go to Ottawa or Kitchener or other neighborhoods. Even in Toronto, in some neighborhoods, such as Leaside or Rosedale, the auto insurance is less than in other postal code. Discrimination is real. And Renda says, go ahead.
Sorry, Faisal, if I could, I just wanted to read, because we were talking about it there, the top 10 lists
yes.
of insurance premiums.
Yes.
Brampton, 2,698. Mississauga, 2,372. Vaughan, 2,334. Richmond Hill comes next, 2,286. Markham, 2,222. Toronto, 2,201. Then Ajax, 2,141. This is the top 10. Pick 1961. Whitby, 1777. And Hamilton, 1755. And as I mentioned before, the three most expensive places, Brampton Centre with the L6T postal code is 3,068. Scarborough Centre Rouge with M1X, if you have an M1B or an M1J, 3,000. And in my riding, the Brampton North L6R, $3,301. And the cheapest rate, I guess people are probably wondering, where can I get the cheapest auto insurance rates? That was found in smaller urban centers, such as Kingston, $1,103.
For a year.
Yeah.
But also, I understand that also this also top 10 also list, it doesn't also break down my community and many other communities in Toronto. I see also Toronto, it mentions Scarborough there, but I think the more we break down, the more people are paying as well. So this is just an example of the problem of postal code, but when you also go down into our communities and other communities as well, some people are paying 700, 500 a month. And that is also something happens in our community and across urban areas as well. And that's not fair at all, Kevin, to be honest.
No, it's not, and that's why we're having this conversation tonight. It needs to change, and we need to finally decide to base it on who you are, your driving record, how many tickets you have, how many accidents you have, how long you've been driving. Is your driver's abstract perfect? Mine's a pristine driving abstract, but I'm still paying ridiculous amounts of insurance because of where I live in Brampton North. And it's something which needs to change. And I hear it when I go knocking on doors. Well, pre-COVID, when I was knocking on doors, and people were saying, Kevin, it's crazy. All I have to do is step into Caledon, move into Caledon, and I'm paying hundreds of dollars less in my auto insurance. Do something about it. If you can fix it for me, I'd love you for it. But the successive governments have not had the will. They'll talk a good game. They'll talk a good game and say, okay, they'll make the promises during election time as well. And then once they get into power, they'll stall, and nothing ever amounts to it. And we're still in the same old, year in and year out.
Yes, I can sum up that from bad to worse. We have seen the Liberals for the last 15 years, and now the Progressive Conservatives had a chance to fix this, but they chose not to work with us. They are not listening to the people of Ontario when it comes to many issues. But tonight we are talking about auto insurance, and this is also the people in many communities have been hit hard by high auto insurance rates simply because of their postal codes. We pay higher premiums.
Sorry for interrupting you, but you know what? If ever there was a time to lower auto insurance rates, you would think it would be in a worldwide pandemic. And the fact that it hasn't, the fact that the insurance rates have actually gone up during this pandemic is eye-opening, and it makes you realize that there is no political will to do anything about it amongst what we see in successive governments. So if now is the time to lower auto insurance rates, and if we can't see that happening, then there's something going on.
Absolutely. We pay higher premiums because of where we live, and that's a fact. This is unfair. It is time to end community discrimination. For many of our community members, owning a car is a necessity, and this is also true in Brampton. It's true in many municipalities.
It's not a luxury. It's not a luxury. It's a necessity.
Absolutely. And the only way to get to work is to drive, because the jobs are outside the community, and long commutes is time spent away from family as well. For those facing 2-hour commute by bus, driving to work is the only way they will have enough time to see their family or their children off to school in the morning and tuck them into bed at night. Owning a car is extremely expensive for us, and it is becoming more expensive every year. So postal code discrimination means that people who made all the right choices, who bought safe cars and maintained good driving records, are being punished by insurance companies because of where they live, Kevin.
Well, that's true. I mean, we're seeing them being penalized because of the postal code in which they live in, and it's not right. It shouldn't be like that. And we've been seeing that for years and years and years. And it's almost like a broken record when you hear successive governments saying we're going to do something about it, and they don't. And it's a complete letdown to the people of Ontario. It's not fair for the people of Ontario. I mean, I get that there are bad drivers out there. Yes, there are bad drivers out there. Even in Brampton North, there's bad drivers. There's bad drivers in your riding as well. These are the ones who should be paying the higher auto insurance rates. And they should be the ones also being put in the facility and the high risk markets. But you can't lump in a complete community based on where they live, and not look at their driving record. Well, if you don't look at the driving record, what's the point in having a perfect driving record then? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You do the right thing. You stop at stoplights. You don't speed, and you have a perfect driving record, no accidents, no claims, and you're punished for it. You are punished for it based on simply on where you live. And it has to stop. And I think having these conversations, Faisal, and continuing to put motions and bills at Queen's Park, and we're hopefully one day we will get these changes. It's something as well that we've been looking at regarding limousine and taxi drivers. We've seen the changes in Quebec, and hopefully we can get those changes here into Ontario. I hate using the word hopefully because it almost sounds like it's not going to happen. We are going to continue to push to make sure that we get lower auto insurance. There is a way to do it, and there's also a way for insurance companies to still make a profit, because we know that the profit is their bottom line. As I told you earlier, they're beholden to their shareholders, so that's why they are in the business they are in. So, but they can still make a profit at the same time. They can give relief to ordinary citizens of Ontario. You can do both. You can do both. It's just you need the will.
And the decent, hardworking people across this province and families in neighborhoods do not have the same opportunities to send their children to extracurricular activities or save for retirement as others across the province, because they're spending that money on auto insurance, 500, 700, 600 a month, and they are decent, hardworking people driving fine, as Kevin talked about, following the rules. The real reasons for the discrimination remains, Kevin, unclear. We are not told on what basis certain neighborhoods are targeted for higher premiums, what data is being used to support these higher costs, or what evidence could justify the claim that a responsible driver is a safe car is a higher risk simply because of their address. Is
And
the cost?
you know what? And you know what, Faisal? I know we're running out of time, but we haven't touched on this. There is talk. I'm not sure how much the listeners and the viewers are aware of it, but there is talk to base your insurance now on your credit history, your credit rating. And this is something I'm going to fight tooth and nail against. It is something which is most likely going to come up within the next year as a potential in terms of rating insurance. And once again, it's attacking marginalized communities who are trying to make ends meet. They may not have the best credit or the best credit rating, and now you're going to penalize them in terms of auto insurance because they have a poor credit rating. That is risk. There are some insurance companies out there who have said, I'll say this, that they are completely against that. But there are other insurance companies who are saying, yes, that's good. Let's do that. Let's do that. So this is something which is ridiculous, and we're going to fight tooth and nail to make sure that that's not another consideration in terms of how much premium you're going to make or how much premium you're going to be charged because of your credit rating. But this is something which is raising its ugly head at Queen's Park.
Yes, and also, I mean, that's very good. If I mean, if there are, insurance companies that are fair, they're doing a good job, we want to know. But I think, is the cost of car insurance based on data, or is it based on prejudice? And that is the question my constituent is asking. And together we can put an end to auto insurance postal code discrimination, and we need to get involved, folks. And I know that this has continued for so long, Kevin. I think now also bring about someone's credit history. What has got to do with driving a car? Nothing to do with it.
There's absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. So I was shocked and appalled when I heard this was potentially coming down the pipeline in terms of insurance ratings. And who's gonna hurt the most? You know who's gonna hurt the most? Those who are in the marginalized communities. Even now, in my riding of Brampton North, multicultural community, a lot of Black, a lot of Brown, Southeast Asian, and Caribbean people, we are the ones who are paying the highest auto insurance.
Yes.
Ask yourself, why is that? What's going on? Is there something going on? And then why now is the government potentially thinking about adding another matrix, which will further alienate people, and when it has nothing to do with your driving, nothing to do with your driving. So this is something we are going to fight against. As I mentioned before, there are some insurance companies who said, no, we're not going to do it. But this is something which I'm shocked is a possibility down at Queen's Park, that the fact that your credit history, your credit rating will be used as a matrix in determining how much you should be paying for auto insurance. So, like I said, Faisal, this is ridiculous. Something we're going to fight against.
Absolutely, and I think that is very important that the people of Ontario and the GTA and across the province understands that who is fighting for you. To be honest, we've seen the last 15 years of Cutling Wynne and Dalton McGuinty and now Ford Conservatives, and they are not interested to tackle the issue at hand. And I know that things have been very challenging, but I want to also thank Kevin, those who have also made a lot of comments tonight, that we were not able to get all your comments. I know Tracy has been engaging tonight, Tracy Lynn, for so many questions. And also, if you want to also send more information to us, you can reach Kevin Yard, K Yard hyphen co at ndp.on. And also my email is fhassan hyphen co at ndp.on.ca. Kevin,
you have to find a way to put it up on the screen.
Well, that would have been nice. We are not yet there, but we have now made a possibility to go stream in YouTube and Twitter and also Facebook. Definitely will be able to do that in the future. Kevin, I know it's we have come to the end of our time. We have only 3 more minutes. I will give you the floor for your concluding comments and reflection about the questions, the challenges we fought since 2018. We have been fighting. I know that the previous critic for this position was my colleague from north of here, Tom Rokosovich. He put also a bill, and that bill was also defeated. And also Gorton Singh, from Brampton East as well. And you put also early on a motion and reflect us and also our vision. And I think important, I know that the people of Ontario can rely on for us to end postal discrimination. And also some of those insurance companies, when I met with them, they seem to be reasonable. They said they agreed, but the solution is needed to be implemented immediately. And that we haven't seen yet.
And then, the whole idea of this conversation is to work with the government, to work with insurance companies, to come up with formulas, come up with ideas to lower auto insurance, because it is doable. And it is doable in a way where insurance companies can still make a profit, can still be, beholden to their shareholders and providing them with profits. At the same time, you can still lower the auto insurance rates, and it won't affect your bottom line. And we're still going to have safety on the roads. We're still going to have protection for those when there's accidents. So it can be done. It's just whether the will is there, the political will, the insurance side willpower to do that. And we haven't seen that, pardon me, in many years. And it's shocking to see that during a pandemic that people have been calling my constituency office, been sending me emails and saying, Kevin, my insurance rate is going up. How dare they? Now, during a pandemic, on CERB, but I'm not making as much income as I was last year. And I'm not driving my vehicle. It's sitting on the driveway. We were told to stay home. We were told not to go out unless it was for necessity, unless you were just going to the pharmacy or if you're going to the grocery store, but you're still paying high insurance rates. So people were doing the right thing, but at the same time being penalized for doing the right thing. So I think time is now. Enough talk, enough. We don't need any more discussions. We know what the problem is. We know what the solutions are. We know how to fix it. We just need to have that willpower to do it. I have the willpower to do it. You have the willpower to do it. We just have to get others on board to do that. So it's not going to be a situation where insurance companies are going to lose out. They're actually probably going to benefit. They're going to see more insureds to their coming into the brokerages and with insurance companies when they lower the insurance rates. And we have to get rid of postal code discrimination. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. It shouldn't be based on where you live. I'm looking outside my window here, and it shouldn't be based on where we are. It should be based on how many accidents you have, how many tickets you have, how many claims you have. Are you a good driver? Are you a bad driver? That's what we should be rating on. Plain and simple, and nothing more, nothing less. Not based on your postal code. So I'll continue to fight Faisal down at Queen's Park for the great viewers and listeners there to make sure that we get lower auto insurance. Is one of the #1 issues here in Brampton. It's a #1 issue across many areas of Ontario. So I'm fighting not just for Brampton, I'm fighting for all Ontarians. And it's something which I'll be sure as a critic for auto insurance that we get the just due that we all deserve, and which is lower auto insurance.
Well, folks who have joined tonight, I want to thank you, and thank you for also those who have sent questions earlier, and those who also joined and engaged actively on our Facebook page discussions. I want also to thank you, to my friend and colleague, a member of Provincial Parliament for Brampton North, Kevin Yard, for joining me and you tonight for this important discussion on auto insurance and postal code discrimination. I thank you to the people who have joined us online and participated actively. Comments as well tonight. I appreciate your participation in tonight's discussion. Brampton North and York Southwestern are united in opposition to unfair treatment we have experienced at the hands of insurance companies. We deserve better, and we know that previous Liberal and Conservative governments have come up short over and over again, and we deserve better. The NDP has put forward bills that will cap the profit margins of auto insurers and end postal code discrimination, and continue to call for a 50% discount on auto insurance amid the pandemic. Waiting is no longer an option. The time to act is now. And I appreciate my friend and colleague Kevin Yard from Brampton North for his leadership on this file, as well as our residents for their support as we work to bring fairness to auto insurance rates in Ontario. Folks, friends and neighbors, brothers and sisters, thank you and good night.
Good night.